Welcome to the online captain's meeting for Innertube water polo. It is required that you watch this short video and take the quiz following the video to create a team on IM Leagues. This video will contain all the answers to the questions that you will see on the quiz. So let's get started with the online captain's meeting for Innertube water polo. UNK policies. First, injuries. All participants play at their own risk. Any costs incurred due to injury while participating in intramural sports will be at the responsibility of the injured party. Second, lost and stolen items. Intramural staff assumes no responsibility for items that are damaged, lost, or stolen during intramural activities. We advise you not leave any valuables unattended while participating. Just like every other tournament and league within UNK intramurals, you must complete the $20 semester fee before participation will be granted. You can pay that fee with cash or check in Cushing Office 112 or pay with a debit or credit card at unk.edu/intramurals. If you have trouble completing this payment online, try opening another web browser or calling our office. Payments must be made by 2 p.m. the day of your game. If your game is on a weekend, you must complete your payment by 2 p.m. on Friday. To be considered eligible to play UNK intramurals, you must provide a UNK ID to an official or supervisor prior to game time. If you do not have a UNK ID, you cannot play. Be on the team roster by 2 p.m. the day of the game, or like stated before, 2 p.m. on Friday for weekend games. Once a player participates with a team, only extreme circumstances will allow them to leave that team and be added to another. And you can only participate on one team per league. And lastly, you must complete the intramural semester payment before eligibility will be granted. If your team is unable to meet those eligibility requirements, you must contact the intramural office by 2 p.m. on the day of your game to receive a default. And again, if your game is on a weekend, you must contact us by 2 p.m. on Friday. Teams will not make it into the playoffs if they have 2 forfeits or a sportsmanship rating average less than a 2.5. 2 defaults equal 1 forfeit, and 2 forfeits or 3 defaults will result in removal from the league. And just a side note for playoffs, we will have an in-person captain's meeting for playoffs to allow teams to pick bracketing positions. Dates and times for this meeting will be announced at a later date. For Innertube water polo, all jewelry must be removed. You must wear the proper swim attire, and pool rules require you to shower with your swim attire on before entering the pool. Eyeglasses are not to be worn when playing Innertube water polo unless they are safety glasses, and no hard casts or braces will be allowed. All Innertube water polo games will take place in Cushing Pool. A forfeit will be assessed to a team if they have not arrived to the location and ready to play 5 minutes following their scheduled game time. When you arrive for your game, you must check in with an official, scorekeeper, or supervisor to present your valid UNK ID. Captains will be responsible at check-in of the team's first game to report if any participation points are going towards any specific organization. Some specific game rules to Innertube water polo will consist of all inner tubes must be rowed handles up with the player sitting in the tube. No riding the tubes on one's stomach, with knees on the tube, etc. Playing the ball in one of these illegal positions will result in a turnover at the spot of the infraction. Before each game, rock, paper, scissors will decide which goal each team will defend, and teams will switch at half. Each team lines up at their inline behind their goal to start play. Play starts when the referee tosses the ball into the center of the playing area. After each score, the ball is put into play by the goalie scored a pond. And as a reminder, no jumping into the tubes from outside the pool will be allowed. Now let's go over some specific goalie regulations. The goalie may not throw the ball more than half the length of the pool. The goalie may not leave his or her inner tube to prevent a thrown ball from entering the goal or to play the ball. If the goalie does get out of his or her tube while blocking a shot on goal, the goal will count. The goalie has 10 seconds to put the ball in play after gaining control, and if the goalie hits the ball out of bounds, the other team will be awarded the ball at the closest point to where the ball went out of bounds, but not in the goalie area. As for player regulations, no player may leave his or her tube to touch or maneuver the ball. If tipped out of their tube, a player may not touch or control the ball until back in their tube. When tipping an opponent out of his or her tube, a player may grab the tube only, not the player. And players may not grab the handles of the tube, only the tube itself. Defensive players are allowed to enter their goalie box to get the ball, but only to throw the ball to their goalie. Innertube water polo will consist of two 12-minute halves with running clock. Teams will change pool ends to start the second half. There will be a 2-minute halftime period. Each team is allowed one 1-minute timeout per game, and the team in possession of the ball must call the timeout, and the clock will stop on all timeouts. There will be no overtimes in regular season play, and games will end in a tie. During the playoffs, there will be an overtime sudden death where the first team to score will win. To begin a game, you must have a minimum of 5 players and a maximum of 6. For co-rec, you must have 3 males and 3 females. The goalie may be male or female. If a co-rec team starts with a minimum of 5 players, at least 2 must be male and 2 must be female, and the goalie can be of either gender, but there just must be an equal number of each gender at all times. Substitutions may be made at any time. Teams must substitute besides a goalkeeper area cone in their own defensive zone. As diagrammed previously, the goalkeeper area is from the end of the pool, out 5 feet in length, and full width. No offensive or defensive player is permitted in this area. For co-rec, female goals are worth 2 points and male goals are worth 1 point. In men's and women's league, all goals scored will be worth 1 point. The following penalties will result in losing possession of the ball to the opposing team at the spot of the foul. If the ball goes out of bounds, a free toss is awarded to the opposing team at the nearest designated throw-in spot. Holding the ball underwater, offensive or defensive player within the goalkeeper's area. Failing to sit in the inner tube, seated in the tube with arms and legs extended over the tube is the proper mechanic. Holding onto the ball for more than 10 seconds without forward motion in order to stall play or waste time. Holding an opponent without the ball, either by their tube handles or not, will be at the official's discretion and will result in the following penalty. If a penalty is by the offensive player, losing possession of the ball to the opposing team at the spot of the foul will be the consequence. If the penalty is by a defensive player, the offensive team gets a penalty shot at their opponent's 10-foot mark. If you need any rule clarifications for Innertube water polo, have any general questions, comments, or concerns, or just have any feedback for the intramural program, please contact the intramural office at any time. The intramural office is in Cushing 112. The intramural phone number is 308-865-8676, or you can email the intramural office at unkintramurals@unk.edu. The intramural program will be in communication with you, our participants, mainly through IM Leagues and on Facebook. That concludes the online captain's meeting for Innertube water polo. By continuing on and taking the quiz and creating a team, you are verifying that you have watched the video and understand all rules, policies, and procedures for the UNK Intramural Innertube Water Polo League. If you have any questions, contact the intramural office at the contact information provided in the previous slide.